Thanks for staying with us. It's time to go to the press and see what the fresh headlines this morning are. And joining us to discuss the headlines is Mr. BIODUN SOWUNMI, a public affairs analyst. Good morning and welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's begin with the Nigerian Tribune. The leading headline is JAMB admits errors. 379,997 candidates to retake UTME. The writer is Oloyede sheds tears, takes responsibility and apologizes. What's your take?
Well, I think it's quite unfortunate that many students who are taking that examination would have to retake it again. JAMB in its own statement kept saying that look, they're trying to deploy the best of technology to ensure a better system to assess students. Now, they ran into technical glitches caused by human error and was not discovered in time. The JAMB chairman has actually apologized to the registrar. He has apologized to the students and to Nigerians who are shedding tears, but that for me is not enough. This should not have happened in the first systems. When you are deploying a new technology, you need to ensure that it's functional and it will not end up leading to situations like this. You ask yourself, who are the people that would be blamed for this? It's not just the JAMB registrar. Who are the people who committed human errors? Why was the system functioned in most of the states, and not in Southeast and Lagos zone? So it's quite unfortunate that happened. While I would not call for the head of the registrar, at the same time, I think there are lessons to learn, and those who committed the human errors should not be shielded behind the admission and the apology of the registrar. We know that a private sector, was involved in the deployment of that technology. So if the blame is to be pinned to them, at the end of the day, somebody has to take the flak for this.
I agree with that, but I also wonder whether pockets of these may have happened anywhere else that was not noticed, and because there was no outcry from those places, they will just go without the opportunity to rewrite these exams, because these things may have happened in previous years, but it was not as monumental as these, and because of that, so many children could have failed without them actually failing, but because of a glitch in the system. But this also brings to the question, Mr. SOWUNMI, even though it's not part of the headline today, do you think the WAEC and the NECO can go CBT, full CBT by December this year as promised? Because if we are seeing this glitch in JAMB, what about WAEC that takes more than a month to write and more students will have to sit for it? Can it work?
Well, this is a warning to NECO and WAEC because this can be very devastating for so many people. We understand that a student had already lost, we've already lost a life, as a result of this error or human error or technical glitches, depending on what you want to classify. The fact of the matter is, before deploying any technology, we need to not only ensure that it will achieve the purpose seamlessly, while at the same time ensure that it's tested, even if it's through sectoralizing it, that is using it in a zone first and see how practicable it is. So if there are problems, you can easily, get them corrected, rather than full deployment of technology that has not been tested here. Because at the end of the day, we cannot always blame human factor. We know we have issues in our country. It's not just about human being. We have the architecture, the energy architecture supporting the systems itself has problems. And therefore, we have to be careful when we're embracing new technology. We should embrace them, but we need to ensure that they will function seamlessly.
Okay. So another small headline on the top right corner of the Nigerian Tribune is Tinubu approves establishment of forest guards. Maybe one of the reasons for that is to make sure our forests are safe. one of the writer here is saying, guards to reclaim forest from terrorist criminal gangs. And my concern is forest guards, state police, what should we be discussing now?
Yes, the issue of forest guard has been on the table for some time. Don't forget, we used to have these forest guards. If you go back to the 60s, when we had a confederal arrangement, there were forest guards who are responsible, for the security of what you classified as government properties in the forest. I'm referring to timber, so that they are not just felled and taken away, without replanting them and replanting those trees to replace them. And they also moderate and regulate the way the timbers were taken, were felled, and then ensure that there's a sustainable forest, to support our development. Now, we were making a lot of money from timber exports till now, but suddenly all these have been overtaken, by recent events, because more and many states, stopped investing in forest guards. So we found ourselves in a situation where our forests have become, the residence for bandits and terrorists. And the only way for us to at least be able to track them or know what is going on in the forest is to ensure that forest guards are in place, because they can provide useful intelligence apart from also dealing with woodlums. They can also provide useful intelligence, for the security services in the country. So I think it's long overdue. So the federal government needs to adequately, fund it and ensure that forest guards are deployed in different parts of the country.
How equipped will they be to fight the hoodlums? Because the forest guards I knew, I'm not sure they were carrying AK-47 or any gun that will fight bandits and all that. Is it that we're going to have forest guards now that can carry arms and can fight Boko Haram and other bandits that are in our forest? And if we are doing that, so what's the difference, the marked difference between that and having to have state police that naturally would be trained on handling of arms and all that, and then also the gathering of intelligence? Can't we have these forest guards and the state police side by side? Or if we must have one, can't we just have state police that can handle arms?
We need both, actually. The forest guard duty is not to go and fight insurgency. No, they have a responsibility to protect the forest and ensure a regulation, a regime of sustainable development and use of resources in the forest. Yeah. That is one part of it. Number two, they will also be responsible, for safeguarding the mineral resources in the forest. We should not forget that we have valuable mineral resources, rare earth materials also, lying in our forests. And from what we know in the past, people have been moving in, to mine them illegally. So the ones in the forest will be the responsibility of the forest guard to secure. The third thing is they provide useful intelligence, for the Nigerian security services, because there's little the police can do, when they are policing communities. They do not really police forests, and the police are not trained to do that. So this will be specialist force, services that will be very, very valuable to us. In relation to state police, of course, the clamor for state police is increasing on a daily basis, given the atrocities happening. Many of these atrocities are not happening in the forest in relation to state police. You see that communities are being decimated, being renamed, bandits will come in, hunters will come in, attack, communities, local communities where people are actually living. So the demand for state police has gained a momentum to the extent that the House of Reps just yesterday or 2 days ago, just approved the bill. That does not mean it will eventually scale through, because it needs 2/3 of the 36 state houses of assembly to also approve it. So that's one part of it. But you realize that the issue of state police is more relevant to the communities and protection of the communities. But in terms of resources in the forest and in terms of gathering intelligence in the forest guard will be very, very useful and complement the Nigerian police force and be a useful resource, for the Nigerian security system.
Well, in my I'm not a security expert, but if they want to merge the two together, I think they could just have state police that will have a department of forest guard, just like the Nigerian police has traffic wardens and the mobile policemen and all that, so that the forest guard, a component of the state police, can gather the intelligence for the regular ones to do what they're supposed to do. Because part of this report says that the aim of these, one of the mandates, is that the guards should reclaim forests from terrorists and criminal gangs. There's no way you can reclaim the forest without having to fight them at some point. And even what you talked about, mineral resources that are in our communities, most of these communities that have that are the ones that are having insurgency, because people who want to mine illegally are going there and they have sophisticated arms. So you can't go there and say, okay, I am the forest guard, you have to leave this place. There will be fights in some cases and we need to be prepared for that. That's what I am thinking. Forest guards may not be able to do anything, especially on this mandate of reclaiming the forest from bandits and terrorists.
Yes, you are correct. One way of doing it is what you have simply suggested to your question. The forest guards will be harmed to start with, because you don't throw people in the forest without giving them arms. I mean, that's quite very clear. Number two, you will realize that we have to be careful not to over-centralize the state policing system again, just like what we did with the federal policing system. What we need to do is to ensure that there will be a synergy, good synergy between the forest guard and the Nigerian police force. Don't forget that we're not thinking just the state police. You would also be able to have local government police. So the forest guard will be able to link up, provide useful intelligence, to not only the local government police in relation to their areas of jurisdiction, but also, to the state police itself. Because what people will value more is feasible policing within the community. And that is what makes people feel assured and safe. Nigerians would also value a situation where crimes are not only detected and punished, but are also prevented. And you cannot prevent them without having useful intelligence. And for me, in the forest, it's a special place. It's totally different. What goes on in the forest is not just about dangerous animals. I mean, you have criminals in the forest, and we have resources to be protected, in the forest. So I think you need a specialized, on his own, acting on his own. Because if you turn around and say we should make them a department in the state policing system, we may end up again with the same problem that we're faced with the federal structure, where the problem of coordination, is centralized, contrary to the fact that there should be independent agencies working together, synergizing together.
Oh, well. Let's move to the Guardian newspaper. Federal government upbeat about reforms amid criticisms over proposed London press conference. It's a small headline down, left corner. You will find it there. Federal government upbeat about reforms amid criticisms over proposed London press conference. My concern is the London press conference. The government of the day is proposing a press conference, an international press conference in London to address Nigerians. And I don't know how relevant that is. I don't know how sensitive that is, but I don't know what you think about it. They want to go and outline the achievements of the present administration in London. Maybe because they went to Chatham House during campaigns and all that, and then they came back and won. And mid-term, as it is, the president and his people is thinking about going to London with a retinue of government officials to go and have a press conference about Nigeria in London.
Well, if you look at this problem, let's look at it this way. London is where the base of, the largest community of Nigerians living in Europe. And precisely, I'm saying Southeast, Southeast London. And more precisely, is Camberwell to Peckham area. That is where you find the biggest community of Nigerians in Europe. Yes, and we have also issues around social media. A lot of information and disinformation are being shared. We have London also playing a role during the last election. We saw people going to Chatham House, to make speeches and try and talk to Nigerians one way or the other.
Which was unnecessary.
So therefore, beg your pardon?
I said, which was unnecessary if you ask me. I don't know how the games were, but
in the first instance, it's totally unnecessary. So we now see another unnecessary action, flowing from it, that we now need to go and let them know what we are doing. I don't think that is important. It's a different thing if the president is paying a visit to United Kingdom, official visit, and choose to meet
Nigerians in diaspora,
and tell them what they've been achieving. But to go and hold a press conference in London, when I know that just a select few journalists will be there, rather than the entire Nigerian community, I don't see the sense in that. Because the same thing can be achieved through dissemination of information by having a press conference in Abuja or in Lagos or in Kano or in Port Harcourt. So the way I see it is, I don't think this is necessary. I think because we call it a press conference, we are not talking of a national conference or the president meeting with the Nigerian community. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about press conference. And I think a press conference is for dissemination of information. It's not the entire community that will be there. So I think this can be achieved back at home here rather than.
Yeah, I think so too. Why go to London? I'm just thinking about even just the extra codes that will be spent there can give a lot of things. They can bring a lot of things into Nigeria, and I just wonder why they are going to London. But I hold the same opinion. Now let's move to the Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust newspaper has a small headline there, top left corner of the Daily Trust. DSS seeks court order to ban Utomi's shadow government. I don't know if you've heard about Utomi saying that he is concentrating now. He's no longer interested in belonging to a party. Even he wants to concentrate on a shadow government. And now DSS wants court order to ban it from happening. So give us an insight into what really is a shadow government and why, if it is, it's a threat to Nigeria's existence that DSS will seek to ban it.
Well, shadow government is a feature of a parliamentary system of government. We've done it before in Nigeria when we had a confederal arrangement after independence in the 60s, before the Civil War. The opposition will form a cabinet just like the government, forming its own cabinet. And where you have, for instance, foreign secretary or foreign minister, you have a shadow foreign minister from the opposition, working through the parliament and able to ask questions. The prime minister or president can be summoned probably on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks, to answer directly the questions from the parliament. So that's the feature of a parliamentary system. But when we chose to embrace democracy again, we chose a presidential system of government that does not have any role or any feature of parliamentary system in the form of shadow government. What Utomi and his colleagues are trying to do is to form a shadow government to provide alternative views to government policies in terms of criticisms or suggestions on improvement and so on and so forth. So for me, I don't see why the federal government needs to worry too much about what they are trying to do, because whatever they're saying currently, there are people saying it. People like me also comment on issues, and then you have different groups calling themselves think tank. national think tank, expressing the same views or making constructive suggestions. So whatever they will come out with will not be more than that. But I don't know from the security services, I don't know what they know that I don't know. They may already have information on what they intend to achieve, maybe to disrupt the government. I don't know. But the DSS are in a better place better position to answer that. But left to me, I don't see why we should be so sensitive about whether you call it shadow government or you call it constructive criticisms by analysts or by politicians or by think tanks. I think government will benefit from having alternative views on issues.
Okay. Let's take a final one. Loot decries staff shortage, high electricity bills amid infrastructure gains. It's a recurrent cry we're hearing from Nigerians, and sensitive areas like hospitals are also crying, and I don't know how we're going to survive it. Doctors are not there. There's high electricity bill that has to be footed by the community or the institution and all that, and that means that whatever you're going there to get from loot, which naturally should be cheaper than every other place because of these bills, will be almost as high as the private hospitals and all that. But where are we going in power? Our Minister for Power has said that we need $10 billion every year to put our infrastructure in place. Nothing was mentioned about, revamping that sector. It's just like refurbishing whatever we have and maintaining whatever we have. Nobody talks about upgrading. Even now, some people are of the opinion that solar panels have been banned from being imported, even though the federal government has come to debunk that. But they also said that they want to encourage local production. So because of that, they are slowing down on all that. We do not even understand what is happening. So where are we going power-wise? Because it seems to be affecting everywhere, including places like hospitals.
Yeah, we have a major crisis in the power sector. The transmission lines are over 50, 55 years old, and therefore they are no longer efficient and they break down frequently. And that is why you see frequent national grid collapse in our country. Now, we used to have twin problems. The first problem, generation, and the second is transmission. So now that the federal government is trying to centralize the power system, we can now say that even though we have had a marginal increase in generation, we've not been able to distribute them efficiently in a sustainable manner. So, which points to the transmission line. So, I think the Honorable Minister is on the right path with the decentralization of power sector, and also to encourage the private sector to move in, and state governments are already moving. Like we all know, the power sector is not what you can wish in a year and get done in a year. It takes a number of 18 months to 2 years, to get energy projects, actively operational. So therefore, Nigerians may need to tarry a little bit for maybe another 1 more year. What we've seen going on currently, state governments and private sectors are getting involved. We need more investment in transmission lines. Maybe that's where the minister is talking about $10 billion annually. We need to at least be able to do that, replace those lines. And also at the same time, the state government and private sectors are now able to build their own transmission lines separate from national grid. The use of alternative energy is also deeply encouraged because of our higher institutions. I do not know why we are importing solar, to service even our universities when we have full-fledged faculty of engineering. If we cannot by now produce solar power or wind energy, then what's the essence? What's the rationale for having faculty of engineering in our universities? So we should be focusing more on getting our universities and polytechnics to be more productive and even produce the energy they need rather than focusing on the national grid. I think that way we'll be better off. Otherwise, what's the point? If you're going to have to import solar, you are creating jobs elsewhere. If you are importing windmill, you are creating jobs in those source countries. So therefore, we need to come back home and think about what we are doing and get the institutions, if they need funding, we should fund them appropriately to be able to at least produce prototype which will serve their own academic communities. I think that's the way to go. The hospitals are there. There's no other choice. We have to embrace alternative imaging also to ensure that hospitals are functional. So there's no other choice. In relation to doctors, we cannot stop the brainwave, movement currently. So what we need to do is to produce more doctors. So with more people being admitted to study medicine with the new Federal University of Science and Technology, Federal University of Medicine and Medical Sciences, hoping to take off in Abeokuta this year, maybe we'll be able to increase the number of doctors we are producing, and eventually we'll get to a point of equilibrium where the doctors needed would be in the country, because
unless there is a lot of subsidy in studying medicine in Nigeria, we cannot produce as many doctors as we want, because going into medicine is very, very expensive, even in Nigerian universities, that they say, okay, we've had subsidy, or it is the lowest in the world if you're studying medicine and all that. It's still very, very expensive. So good brains that might want to go there and study medicine may not be able to go there because the monetary aspect of it. So except something is done about that, subsidizing their education or something, we may not be able to produce. But like you said, funding is essential. If this can be done to universities, I'm sure a lot of things will be put in place. There are even individuals who have done some things, and we expect government to encourage them, but we don't ever see this. For instance, there's a young man who more or less produced a car run on solar. Somewhere in Borno, I think. I can't remember the story very well. And we were hoping that the government would identify this kind of person, and there are so many others scattered around the country, and say, okay, we're giving you a subvention or something that will make you develop this thing to the point it should save Nigerians. But we didn't see anything. We hope it happens, not just saying, let us grow our local economy and still be flying to give press conferences in London. Mr. Sowunmi, we cannot continue this morning, but we do hope that all these stories we can continue some other time and make sure that we keep saying what we need to say until Nigeria becomes better than it is today. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
It's always a pleasure. Have a wonderful day. We've been talking to and with Mr. BIODUN SOWUNMI, a public affairs analyst. We were looking at the headlines. We'll take a short break, and when we return, our first hot topic for this morning. Stay with us.